the seasons, and each of us in our life faces moments that are moments of winter, moments of spring, moments of summer, and moments of autumn. It's Conor here in the countryside. This is Amasya, about an hour and 20 minutes north of Barcelona. Beautiful countryside, farms all around, the smell of cows and fields that have just been recently manured, the sound of animals. You can hear horses, goats, cows. And being here with my entrepreneurs organization forum, each year we have a retreat with our families, and this particular farmhouse and these surroundings where we've chosen to spend that weekend for the last 3 years. In the countryside, there's a lot less rush. I'm reminded of a blog post I read recently from Brandon Dempsey, an entrepreneur that I met in Washington last year. And Brandon, in his post, talked about being aware of the seasons of sowing and of reaping, and a way of not feeling good with yourself is when your life is at a time of sowing, and you're paying attention to whether you're reaping. And I think Jim Rohn always had this story about the lesson of the seasons. The lessons of the seasons is that your life moves in seasons, and an awareness of the seasons of your life, the patterns of life, and the season that you're in at the moment can help you get through. And Jim Rohn and Brandon Dempsey talk about these seasons where there's a season of planting and a season of reaping. And Jim Rohn, when he shares the parable of the seasons, he talks about how our lives are like seasons. And there's a spring in our lives, a summer in our lives, an autumn in our lives, and a winter in our lives. And recognize this and knowing this is, I guess, what gives the peace and calm of the farmers in the countryside, because they understand seasons. It's always been there. But it's something lost in the city. We forget that even though we live in the city, and even though the weather does change, there's also patterns in our own lives, in business, in our family, patterns where we're growing and sometimes we've stopped growing. And in spring, if we look at what do you do when you realize you're in spring? What does a farmer do in spring? A farmer realizes that you have a window of opportunity. Spring is opportunity, but it's a window. It's a closed time in which you can grasp hold of opportunity. So the farmer, in the 2 weeks that he can plant, he's out there in the fields, putting the seeds in, getting the seeds deep so that the birds can't eat them, and planting. And there's times in our life as entrepreneurs, in business, in our families, where you're doing a lot of planting. You're not getting a lot. All your effort, all your energy, it can be all the days of light, are going into planting seeds, but you're not receiving anything yet. Then comes the summer. In the summer, the sun shines down and it's hot and the locusts appear, and you need to nurture the plants and you need to protect the plants. You need to fight to protect them, because if you don't fight to protect those seeds that you've grown, to protect those little plants, they will be taken from you. In nature, they'll be taken from you by the insects, by the birds. In entrepreneurs, it'll be taken from you by others. In business, it'll be taken from you by others. You need to fight to protect the seeds that you plant, but you need to nurture them. You need to water them, make sure they're given the necessary minerals and fertilizer. I can smell fertilizer here. But make sure that those seeds that you plant are protected and are taken care of. And in summer, that's what you do. You fight and you nurture. And it's blazing hot sun and it's tough to be there. But if you do the work of summer, if you've planted in the window of opportunity in spring and you've done the work of summer, in the autumn comes the harvest. And what Jim says is, when the harvest comes, you take what you get. You ask no forgiveness if you get a lot, and you ask for no pity if you get none. Because a farmer understands the reason they got none is because they didn't plant anything, they didn't care for it, and they didn't fight to protect their crops. So if you're finding yourself in autumn and there's no crop, the problem is not now. The problem is 6 months ago when you were supposed to be planting, you weren't planting. 3 months ago when you were supposed to be fighting and nurturing, you weren't. And in autumn, there's no crop. And after autumn, after reaping the harvest, comes the season of winter. And in winter, it is cold. And the thing that gets the farmer through winter is to know that it does come to an end. Every winter ends and a spring comes again. And if you find yourself in winter as a farmer, it's get through to the next spring, get through to that next window. In life, if you find yourself in a winter, know that this too shall pass. All winters come to an end. Always there will come a window of opportunity in which you can begin again, begin planting, begin growing, begin the whole cycle. And I think what I took from Brendan Dempsey's blog post was just a moment of reflection, thinking in my life, I'm doing a lot of sowing of seeds at the moment and not a lot of reaping. And there's been days where I felt demotivated because I'm thinking about how little return I'm getting for my effort. But this perspective that there's seasons of sowing and seasons of reaping. And at the moment in my life, I'm in a season where it's sowing. And I shouldn't be evaluating my progress based on what I'm getting, but on how many seeds I'm planting, how many opportunities I'm putting in, how many things I'm putting out into the world, contacting people, creating opportunities. Because summer and autumn are going to come, and when autumn comes, the more I plant, the more I will reap. So it's Conor from the countryside. We're reminded always in the country of the seasons, of the passing of nature, the cycle within which you live. Important not to forget that when you live in the city. Have a great week. Thank you for your subscribes, your likes, your comments, your questions. Keeps me inspired to keep making these. Sad I can't send you the smell that we have here on the farms, an hour and 10 minutes north of Barcelona. Have a good one.